And Mark Duggan was a young man. He was a young man with his whole life ahead of him. Mark Duggan was somebody's son, he was somebody's brother, he was somebody's friend. He could have been my son or my brother. And he'd never been to prison, he'd had a couple of small fines. He wasn't a gangster, but he was gunned down, he was murdered in daylight. He was shot like an animal. That cannot be a lawful killing.
And now what we're seeing as well is, we're seeing a smearing of Mark Duggan. He's some kind of gang leader, gun-toting criminal, like something you see in a Hollywood movie. And the reality is he never went to prison. You know, this was all speculation, right? And I don't want to live in a country where if the police speculate that you've got a gun, that then you get executed on the street. I don't want to live in a country like that, yeah? And I don't think we deserve to live in a country like that. And what the family said yesterday was no justice, no peace. And, you know, we want to say to the Duggan family that we're with you. This is not going away. We are, as Rosa Parks said, we are sick and tired of being sick and tired. No justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
And it's nice that we're here and we're supporting the families, down to actually wanting to do things for change and things like that. Maybe we can do a bit more research on who you are within the system.
When it came to the decision about who they believed, this black person who they said was engaged in criminal activity, or these white cops who were jumped up and power hungry, that you saw that the jury went with the white cops. And I have to say, that is a bit of a damning indictment on society in Britain in 2014. And I think what it shows, you know, when you look at the level of racism and what they're trying to do, on the way in today, they had the police justifying why they stop and search young black men, young Asian men, more than they stop anyone else. And basically they said, well, it's them that commit the crimes. Yet actually, when you look at the figures of who commits the crimes, it doesn't cut, it doesn't wash. And so what you have is that they use this case in order to have more racial slurs. They use this case in order to divide people further. But why wouldn't they do that? Just look at what Cameron does in Parliament, having a go at Romanians, having a go at Bulgarians. Look at how they use racism in order to divide people.
In a country now, if somebody's alone and so the difficulty with this one,
we don't want further protests taking place. So what we've done is called a vigil today, and a vigil will be taking place in London as well, which will be encouraging people to go to.
There's no way that, you know, if the police are just allowed to lawfully shoot somebody because they think he was armed, you know, he didn't have a gun on him. The taxi driver said that the policeman that shot him was full of rage and looked like he was out to hunt something down. And the only other witness said that they saw Mark, he had a BlackBerry in his hand, and he was looking bewildered, and he was trying to surrender. And he was just shot dead. So we're here today to stand in solidarity with Mark's family, to support them in their struggle for justice, and we're going to stand here as long as it takes for them to get justice, and we support them in their call, no justice, no peace.
we're sick and tired of seeing black people overrepresented in prison, overrepresented being expelled from school, and we want to make change. We want to fight back against that, yeah? And we are with the family when they fight. And if they want to appeal, we want to be with them when they appeal. And we want to see demonstrations get bigger against this injustice, because the police and the government are not going to have it their own way. And, you know, as the Facebook group said, you know, when injustice becomes a law, resistance becomes a duty. And that's what we're here really today. We're doing our duty as citizens to say no justice, no peace.
I tell you the truth as well, this isn't the first case that we've had, and it ain't going to be the last. How many people who have been black or ethnic minorities have been murdered by the police, and the police just get away with it? But actually, I tell you what, the police met this out to working class people. Just think about the big issue seller that they killed in London. Just think about Harry Stanley, a 50-year-old dad who was killed by the police. They said he was carrying a gun and it turned out to be a table leg. What we've got is that when the cops are armed, they use it. And I think we have to say the police shouldn't have arms, because when they've got it, actually it makes society more unsafe. And if we want a society that is safer, actually I think as well as challenging the racism, as well as challenging authority, what we have to say is we want a fairer society, a society where it isn't about the police oppressing the people who aren't police, a society where it isn't about politicians oppressing ordinary people or the rich oppressing the poor. And I think part of what we're saying today is we stand shoulder to shoulder with the family when they say no justice, no peace, but we stand shoulder to shoulder with anyone that's standing up and saying it is wrong that when authority attacks us, they can get away with murder and they think there's nothing we can do. Well, we can mobilise, and we can help the family get justice once and for all.